Hi everyone, Astro Athens here, and I have a special guest for you all. I am super excited to talk with him. His name is Chris Carberry, and he is the CEO of the Humans to Mars Conference in Washington, D.C. And I want to talk with him just a little bit about why he does what he does and why he thinks it's super important to, well, get humans to Mars. So hi Chris, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, thank you for being on, and I'm really excited. We're only about a couple weeks out until the
Yeah, it's
conference.
going to be a great conference. I think, as you know, it's the biggest conference in the world focused on sending humans to Mars. And this year we've tried to broaden the agenda a lot. We always have the top people in space exploration, from industry, NASA, policy. This year we're really trying to reach out to different technologies, different communities, to look at technologies like VR, AR, AI, how the intersection between art, technology, and innovation, to show that this isn't just a small number of companies that are interested in Mars exploration, but this is just across all sectors. And it'll take all of society, many sectors, to get us to Mars and keep us going there as well, and to bring the public along with us, not literally, hopefully some of them, but
Yeah.
for instance, I mentioned with VR, think about how much more exciting it will be. You don't remember when we landed on the moon, I'm sure, but you've seen the old footage. But imagine if they were able to go along with Buzz and Neil on the surface with VR gear and everything else. Think about if we go to Mars in the 2030s, particularly understanding what advancements there'll be in VR, AR, how exciting it will be if people can walk along the surface with the astronauts. There'll be a delay in time because it's so far away, but in these sorts of technologies, we're interested in how to engage the public, bring them along, but also how they can actually help with mission operations, with science as well. There's so many different applications people are only beginning just to think about right now. So one of our goals is to start bringing people together to kind of force them to think about this and see if we can come out of it, not just with the conference, with a lot of innovative ideas at the end.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. I'm really stoked to actually hear and see, well, since I can't actually be there this year, but to see the footage that's going to come from the people that'll be interacting at the VR and the AR, because that really resonates so well with people, especially like the younger generation. So I'm really excited to hear that you guys even have that going on at the conference. So other than that, what is the most exciting thing, or what is the one thing that you're actually looking forward to this year as opposed to the other conferences that you've done?
I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of things, I'm excited about a lot of it. The things I just mentioned are particular, but, we always like to highlight, as I mentioned, the entertainment industry as well. We have a number of elected officials coming this year, talking, at least one member of Congress and one senator will be there. We have international participants, so we'll have a panel, talking about international science missions to Mars, representing, both NASA, Europe, as well as the United Arab Emirates as well.
That's
So
amazing.
we're just trying to cover, but we're also doing things. We have a panel that's going to be looking at the economics of space exploration, how it impacts. Well, missions to Mars in general, we're not going to make a profit if somebody decided to on their own pay for a mission to Mars. They're not likely to make a profit right off, but there are a lot of potential economic benefits, a lot of markets that can be had in the whole process, all the different technologies. So we want to look at that, how it's going to impact manufacturing, the economy. Also looking at, we have people coming in that are working on analog missions, basically simulated Mars missions, both physical ones, but also ones that are virtual as well, kind of going back to that virtual reality theme. So we're going to look at some of the different analog bases that are currently existent, but also companies like HP who are developing software that try to simulate, life on Mars as well. So once again, there's a combination of different approaches, from the actual building an actual analog base to actually trying to create that virtual base, and finding ways to interact, use them both at once as well. So that's another angle. We're also having the DC premiere of an independent film called Seat 25, which
Ah,
was produced in England. And it's basically the story of a woman who gets selected for a one-way trip to Mars. And most of it's not actually on Mars. It's actually her trying to explain to her husband, her friends, and others her decision to actually pack up and go to Mars. So it's almost entirely just kind of looking at the sociological, psychological issues, her going through her life, her not being quite satisfied with her life, and then getting this opportunity, then this, with this mission funded by an eccentric billionaire who wants to go to Mars, not based on anybody in particular, I'm sure. So
yeah, wow, what an incredible way to just humanize this exploration, because at the end of the day, like, we can keep sending rovers to Mars and landers. I mean, I'm sure we're all excited about the InSight mission that's going to be launching just before the conference. So what a great way to launch the conference itself. But this is such an incredible way to really get people to say, wow, I can now picture myself going to Mars. I can picture myself, because when you see the logistics of things, especially as you said, the economic standpoint, that I think really starts to get people to say, wow, now I can start to plan it out and see a spreadsheet, see a blueprint. So I love that this exists and that they're doing this. So what I'm really curious to ask you is, how did you first start doing the conferences? When did it start? And then where was that turning point in your head where you're like, I got to make this conference and do this because this is so important?
Well, I probably should point to two things. This would be the 6th year. We started the Humans to Mars summits in 2013. Explore Mars, the organization that I'm CEO of that runs it, was founded in 2010. And so I think we timed it very well. A lot of different things were changing. We timed it very well. I think we helped move the ball along in moving people's perceptions about the realities of sending humans to Mars. But we noticed going into 2012, particularly when the Curiosity rover landed on Mars, and then going into our first conference, there seemed to be a big shift in public perception as well as political support for going to Mars. Literally, when I started doing this a while back, when you went to members of Congress and told them, well, we need to send human missions to Mars, they'd roll their eyes. It kind of, it was a big giggle factor. They'd look at you as though you're wearing Vulcan ears or something. Now it's just policy. Everybody assumes we're going to Mars, and that's a dramatic difference. So, that whole 2012, 2013 timeframe, is when this conference really started to take off. And we did a lot of other programs to help push it along. It wasn't just us, a lot of different activities. But you've noticed, obviously, there are a lot of companies working on it. Obviously, everybody knows SpaceX, but other companies as well are all working on it, like Boeing and Lockheed and Aerojet and NASA as well. But you've probably also noticed that Hollywood is really engaged with this. We all know the movie The Martian, based on the popular book as well. But there's also a National Geographic series, Mars. They're going to have season 2 starting later this year. There's a Hulu series called The First coming out about a Mars settlement. That's coming out later this year. And there are literally, I can't remember, there are a lot of different Mars-related television shows and movies coming out over the next few years. So it's really engaged the entertainment industry, the general population. Even American Doll recently released a Mars astronaut doll as well. So and we will actually be handing, they're actually partnering with us, and we will actually be handing a few of those out at the conference as well. So it's not just the usual aerospace, which we want. They're important. We're not going to get to Mars without them. But the show, it goes far beyond them.
Wow, well, that is really exciting, and everyone definitely stay tuned for the American Doll. It's a giveaway, right?
It's a giveaway. I can't remember actually what the basis of how we're giving them away is. We'll be determining that over the next 2 weeks, how that they're being distributed. It's not a lot of them, just a few of them, but it should be fun.
That's still super amazing, and I think that's going to still influence so many people, especially the little kids, the little girls that are going to get the doll themselves. Is super exciting. Well, for one final question, it would be, if you were to go to Mars, would you do it whether it's a one-way trip or it's a round trip? I know I would vote for round trip, but
I'd go for a round trip. Not quite as adventurous as some, and I might. It depends on, I'm certainly one of the biggest advocates for getting people there. I'm not as quick to jump to yes, I'd go as a lot of other people. But if it didn't necessarily take a 3-year mission. I have relatively young kids, so I wouldn't necessarily want to walk out on them, but or
Right.
my wife. But um, you know, a few years down the line, possibly. But right now, I don't anticipate that happening.
Yeah.
But I think we should start off. There's always this debate about, should we just start off with one-way trips to Mars? I don't think that's necessarily realistic. I think we need to start off with round-trip missions and actually have them figure out if we can actually live there. We probably can, but until we get there and have people actually testing whether we can grow crops on Mars, whether we can utilize the water there or the atmosphere to make water, oxygen, and fuel, if we can literally live off the land, until we actually know that, we don't know humans can actually live and sustain themselves on Mars.
Yeah, very good point. I definitely agree with you. And I think a lot of people also will agree with that factor. Well, this is why the Humans to Mars Summit is so important, because you can go there and you can learn about all these different things. So thank you so much, Chris, for taking your time to do this interview. And I'm super excited. And again, it's going to be May 8th to the 10th.
8th to the 10th, with a lot of side activities as well. And we're going to go to a briefing panel on Capitol Hill after it, whereas we'll also deliver our Humans to Mars report, our 2018 Humans to Mars report, to every member of Congress at that same time period. So lots of stuff going on that week.
Amazing, amazing. And then if anyone wants to get tickets, there are still tickets available.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely. We want as many people there as possible. If they can't, we prefer them there in person, but if not, there's also a webcast, so they can go to the website, h2m.exploremars.org, and find that. If it's not up there right now, it will be within the week where you can find that posting.
Perfect. Amazing. Cool. And that's exactly what I wanted, was just the link right at the end. Well, thank you so much again, Chris. And until next time, I will talk to you at Washington, D.C. when we actually do our panel.
Great.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.